Hello and good evening for our first show today. Hope everybody is well and doing okay. Um, if you want to leave me a message, please do in your right hand corner. I hope everybody is well and doing okay. And yeah, okay. So we're waiting for Beth and oh, here for a second. Hello, Beth.
Hello, I'm so sorry I'm late. I don't know if you got my message, but my PC just decided to blue screen on me, so I had to do a quick reboot. So I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay. We just started anyway. We just started.
Cool.
So So everybody, we just started. So please put your comments in your right hand side. Also, people who were concerned about me the other day falling off my scooter, I am really okay. I'm doing all right. It was just the scooter went on top of my leg and everything, but I'm okay. Also, please remind you that the name Crossroads Podcast is being changed because we have now, because we've got a contract now for 3 years and everything, and because of various people that who's helped us, we can kind of like move on to better things. So there you go. Anyway, Beth, hello, and thank you for coming back.
Hi, it's lovely to be here. And yeah, congratulations on your contract. That's amazing work. So nice one.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so anyway, my phone always goes this time of day. Anyway, so sorry about this. So anyway, I would try to talk over to the phone, and in the meantime,
Yes.
right. So what I want to talk about today is with you, Beth. You're saying about toxic relationships, weren't you?
Well, what I specifically wanted to talk about was, as you know, I am a trauma and abuse survivor. And so I've done a lot of work on my thinking and healing hurt and all that sort of thing for, quite a few years, probably 10, 15 years, all told. And I'm always looking for what else I can learn. I love to learn new things. And so something that's occurred to me recently, I just wanted to share with your watchers. If you've experienced any kind of trauma or abuse, or a car accident or, something like that, obviously it can have a longer lasting effect. And with trauma and abuse, there's basically 3 stages until you're fully kind of back on track, as much as you can be, And the first one, obviously, is to fully face the damage. So that's obviously everything that's been done to you, everything that's happened to you, and also sometimes maybe everything you've done and everything that you've become. So it's facing all that and owning it is stage 1. Stage 2, of course, is then healing that. So you've laid it all out in the open, this horrible, painful, injurious stuff, and then by whatever means available. And fortunately, there's more and more ways to heal the hurt now. CBT, talking therapy, hypnotherapy, NLP, like me, coaching, psychiatry, all those sorts of things. And that takes as long as it takes. So when you've done all that, hopefully you come out of that thinking, great, I'm fixed, I'm sorted. I'll never be who I was before, but the person I am now is, probably more interesting, more resilient than I was before. So there's all that process, which we're all quite familiar with. But there's actually a sort of 3rd stage, which is something I'm calling legacy habits. Okay. So
Right.
even though you've consciously healed the hurt from a specific situation, like a toxic relationship, let's say, um, what happens is that instead of, even though we know through our understanding of the universe that everything is one, everything's connected, really, there's like no work-life balance, and there's no compartments in our life, like this is my career and this is my friendships and this is my fitness life and all that. Everything feeds into and is affected by everything else. And but our conscious mind doesn't really like to see it that way, because that's a bit overwhelming. So it's almost like having a doll's house where there's lots of different rooms, and often when you're doing the healing, it's just all happening in one room, right? But there are lots of other rooms where this damage is leaked into, really. Okay, so what happens is that you feel like you're healed, and then you end up in, say, another relationship, and you can often find that you're behaving as if it was a toxic relationship. Okay, and that's because in all sorts of situations, particularly traumatic ones, particularly war zones and things like that, people normalize traumatic things because they simply can't stay at that high level of fear, and adrenaline shooting around the body and cortisol and everything. It's just not sustainable for the human body to do. So what we tend to do is kind of normalize things, and we create routines, right? So even though we might be in a miserable relationship, we have to get through the days. So we create routines and habits and things like that. The problem is, even though we've now got this deep understanding of what our hurt was and we've done our best to heal it, we're often still running those routines because
Right.
our brain made the connection between, yes, healing all this hurt in theory, and then what is that then supposed to look like? How do you now behave, now that you have self-esteem, now that you do love yourself, now that you have forgiven yourself for maybe things you've done in the past? Now you are that healed person. Often you're still running the same old habits because the body's very efficient, the mind's very efficient. It likes to do things the same way it's always done. You know that I'm the change coach, and this is the whole problem with change, is that your body and your mind don't really like to do it. So these legacy habits, they can be a pain because people can think, oh God, why do I keep picking these awful partners? Why do every time I pick someone who's just awful and this and that, and I always feel
Yeah.
frightened and resentful and all that. And the thing is, it may not be the person at all, right? So, but a lot of people think that, right? I just keep getting them. I don't know how. I just keep picking them. Some people blame themselves, and think, oh, it's me. Every time I mess it up, it was lovely and it was all going so well, but it must be me. There's something wrong with me. I just can't seem to have a loving relationship. It seems I just can't be happy in love. Yeah. So, but what's really going on is it's often nothing to do with the other partner. And it's not necessarily to do with some terrible thing inside you that just wrecks romantic relationships. It's just to do with the fact that you're doing something the way you've always done it, and it's now inappropriate and irrelevant for that much healthier relationship.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course it does. It's all about kind of like breaking the habits, really, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like people who've given up smoking, for instance, even though they're completely happy not to smoke and things, sometimes they'll find themselves getting up from their desk in the office and wandering outside, and then they'll be like, what am I doing? I don't even smoke anymore, but the body has remembered that, and people end up doing it. When you move house, for instance, and you find that you're driving to your own address, it's
Yeah.
because for efficiency, we tend to automate and normalize routines. And so we do these things without thinking, because, if we had to think of
Yeah.
every single little thing we did from scratch every single time, we'd be exhausted, we'd get nothing done.
I've got
So,
I've got a situation where sorry, I've got a problem where I'm kind of like spending a large part of my kind of like life kind of like getting people's like approval all the time. Saying it's this right, is that right, and not kind of like sitting back and saying, well, what do I need to do that all the time for?
Okay, so with something like that, so that's a brilliant example. That's really, that's really helpful, and that's definitely something that falls under this sort of legacy habit, because the work you've done and your faith, and all the growth that you've achieved in the last few years, that hopefully has boosted your self-esteem. You do feel that your own approval is the most important approval. In fact, it's the only approval that matters. So you believe that inside, right? But then you find that actually you're going and seeking it anyway. So this is a great example for my sort of tips for dealing with it. So the acronym is CAR, right? Okay. So it's catch it, accept it, and replace it. Okay. So catching it is the first thing. So in this case, it would be about you going, okay, so hang on. So I've done something new, or I've just worked with somebody or whatever, and I know I did well, right? But what did I then do that meant I still went and sought that approval? And it's putting it in a sentence like, well, for some reason it just came out of my mouth. What did you think? How did I do? Was that all right? So I'm obviously still saying that mantra. It's like, whenever you want to make a change, it's like going to the gym once and expecting to have a six-pack. You can't do that. You have to just keep working at it over and over again.
Not a six-pack.
I know, me too. But anyway, what can you do? I'd be happy with a six-pack of lager right now, but it's still warm.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Anyway, yeah, so these sort of things have to be practiced again and again, and that's how you've developed this toxic habit in the first place. So it's literally catching it and going, right, okay, so I'm actually, although I don't need approval, I'm then saying to a particular person, oh, how was that? How did that go? That's what I'm doing. So what you're doing is you're owning that behavior, you're accepting it, you're completely being honest about that behavior that you're running, right? But for me at the moment, because this cropped up the weekend, I'm in a nice, happy, healthy relationship now, but I found that I'm still running habits as if it was a toxic relationship, right? So only small things, but like I was in the bathroom the other day, and there was a towel on the floor that I hadn't dropped, right? And I immediately went, so I suppose that's got to be me that picks that towel up then, hasn't it? Right? And I went to get the towel, and then I thought, no, hang on, right? And that, I was basically like, I don't do that anymore. I don't pick up after other people anymore when I don't need to. I mean, if I still had small kids, you have to do that to a certain degree. But I don't pick up after men anymore. I don't do that, But I found my hand reaching out to do it, and I had to catch myself and had to say, this is what I'm doing. So even though I now have high self-esteem, I'm still picking up after somebody. And it's not like he even wanted me to or asked me to. This was all just me running a habit.
Really, isn't it?
Yeah. And if I'd run that habit without realizing it, I probably then would have started feeling resentful towards my new partner, who was unaware that any of this was going on because of the actions I was taking. Do you see what I mean? So I'm creating a problem where there wasn't one, because he wasn't bothered about his towel being on the floor. He certainly didn't expect anyone else to pick it up. But I was just running it in my head as if it was that kind of relationship, as if he was that kind of partner, right? So when you catch it, and so you catch it, you realize you're doing it, and then you accept it, which is saying, oh, I see, so I'm doing this. And then what you need to do is replace it, because it's like an errant bit of code. It's like a bug in the machine. It's a bit of software that you need to update, because you've done all this healing, but little bits of the old code are still there, and it's about updating that software. So you need to give your brain something to chew on instead. So you just create a more positive phrase of what you want to do instead. So for me, basically, I said to myself, I'm only responsible for my towels, and I'm high self-esteem, and I only pick up after me, right? And so that's what I know. When I feel a little to go and do something when I don't need to do it, I basically say, I'm only responsible for me. That's it, And then I've literally given an instruction out loud, or sometimes you do it in your own mind. I've given my mind an instruction. I've given it permission. You know, we were talking in the episode before last, I think, about giving yourself permission. So I'm giving myself the permission to drop that old behavior that causes resentment and do this new behavior instead, which is, that's okay. I give you permission to leave that towel on the floor because actually you're only responsible for you, right? So can you think of a positive statement you'd like to say to yourself instead that would allow you to, just be happy with your own approval?
Well, I don't know. I've been going through it I've been out in the really really been badly out in the past, like yourself, but not like what's happened to you basically. But I don't know. I go out finding approval all the time. I'm looking for that. Saying, yeah, okay. I've got an issue at the moment. Like I've just taken over a stroke club, and I'm
Yeah.
organising all that lot. And I'm kind of like thinking, and I'm contacting these people saying, "Am I doing it all right? Am I doing it all right?" And they're probably getting fed up with me, and they're going, "Yes, Steve, you're doing a good job. Don't worry about it. Calm yourself down." And the trouble is, sometimes we do that, don't we? Go out for approval, and it could be in a relationship. Am I the right person for you, or um, you know? And but the trouble is with you with the towel. I think the trouble is with the towel is that it's been a habit, probably because you're used to doing things like that, and
Yes,
also
the
and
low
also picking
self-esteem.
up the children's clothes, and you know, and
Yeah, I know.
sometimes, yeah,
See, that's a separate thing because I was talking about different rooms in the house. So who I am as a mum and the habits I run in that part of my life, they're
yeah,
different from who I am as a partner and the habits I run in that part of my life. I mean, this
yeah,
is a lot of what I do in coaching is I get some clients who they really struggle with dating, for instance, right? But they're absolutely fantastic at sales in their career. And it's about getting them to realize that it's basically the same skill set. And if they can do it in one area of their life, they can do it in this area of their life where they've got the problem, because
mm,
everyth's the same thing. It's the
mm.
same thing.
I always
Um,
look forward to it. So I'm not saying it, but I always look forward to speaking to you because you've helped me in my life personally because of different issues that I've been going through. And as
thank you.
we talk, it's like it goes right into my head, and I'm thinking, right, okay, let's sort this out, let's do this, and I love it. It's like free counselling, you know.
Oh,
But no, but I love it because I don't kind of like. I'm thinking, well, okay, she's talking sense. She must be talking sense. So let's kind of like listen and then do it. And I'm thinking, okay,
oh,
so
thank you. That's really great feedback. And the thing is, that's really good news because some of this is kind of straightforward, and all of my stuff is based on just how
yeah,
the brain works. There's no sort of rocket science, there's no hocus pocus or hippy dippy or anything like that. I mean, I'm as happy to meditate with a joss stick on as the next person, but what I'm teaching is practical stuff that will
yeah,
allow
yeah.
you to make real effective change, and that's what I achieve with my clients. But you raised a really interesting point about you talked about two scenarios there. So one is where you're doing this new thing, this stroke club, and you're getting approval from seeking approval from other people. And then you talked about a different example, which is where you're in a steady relationship. Maybe I'm not sure if it's you or not, but anyway, one is in a steady relationship, and even though it's a steady relationship where you both have said the L word and all that sort of thing, you're still seeking that approval as if it hadn't been said, right? So those are two interesting scenarios because the first one about doing something new and seeking approval, my question as a coach would be, how is that a problem?
Ooh, what what with the stroke club or the relationship?
Well, they see that I think that you've just answered it then, haven't you? See, it's two
Mm.
different things. Is perhaps seeking approval in the context of just starting out doing something and asking, "Am I doing this okay?"
I
Is
think
probably
it's just.
a healthy thing because it's good to reach out and get confirmation that we're doing the right thing and that we're learning new things. That's how we grow, is
Yeah,
by
yeah.
allowing others to guide us and approve. But then it's a completely different thing if your partner's told you a million times they love you and you're still seeking that approval. You're right. It's two different things, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I love you to bits because you just come out with things that shock me because I do that to my wife and I say to her, oh yeah, you don't love me and all that, and you know, and she loves me the bits, and I love her to bits too. And yeah, right, okay, thank you very much for that. But
But maybe that's the thing
where's
you
the
might
button?
work on is
Where's
the
the
relationship.
delete button? Uh,
We can talk about my life. That's fine. I don't mind. I
no,
don't
no,
mind.
it's okay. But the trouble is, though, Beth, the trouble is with anything, though, it's
Mm.
like sometimes when we come out of a bad relationship, don't you find that sometimes you're thinking, oh no, I hope this relationship is better than the last one, or
Yeah,
I hope he doesn't kind of like or he or she don't be horrible to me or raise their hand or whatever. And we're
yeah.
so because we've been in a bad relationship
Mm.
with somebody, it doesn't mean that that person who you met again is going to be the same as the other person. So what
Yeah,
we're doing is we put our fences up, don't we? And we think,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes it really difficult to love again. And we survivors of toxic relationships deserve as much as anyone, possibly more so, to have a really lovely relationship afterwards.
mm,
um, what I've done, that's really helped me is, and I know we've talked about this on previous shows. I've accepted that actually I have no control when I go into a relationship, how that relationship will ultimately go. I can't make somebody love me. I can't make somebody stay with me. Do you see what I mean? That they may or may not be a nice person. Again, none of us walked into a toxic relationship knowing day one that the person was toxic. So these things you
yeah,
can't possibly know. But what you can know is that you love yourself unconditionally, and that you will promise yourself that if you see it going sideways, if there are indicators, and you know deep down what those are, that this is an abusive partner, that you promise yourself you will get yourself out of it this time. You will not tolerate it. You will move on. And you will then reassure yourself that you are lovable, and there's maybe some more growth, more learning to do, but that you'll get there. And it's about picking
yeah,
yourself up. And it's like, however much I might mess up stuff in my life, because I love myself, I've always got me there to pick me up. I've always got me there to speak kindly and go, that was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it? But anyway, come on, off we go. Let's pick
I
ourselves
say
up.
that every morning when I look in the mirror. What a nightmare. Um, but,
But yeah, I mean, that's what you can do. And that's why it's so
yeah,
important. We talked
yeah,
about it a million times, to love yourself first. And then it's like walking into a relationship with your own fluffy cloud all around you, right? So even if it goes
let
away,
me ask you a question. Let
sorry,
me ask you a question. You keep asking me. Do you love yourself?
yes.
Will you ever think about getting married again?
What, to myself? I would if I could.
No, no, not to yourself. Would you ever? You're not answering the question.
I
No.
know.
Will you
Um,
ever think of? Would you, if your boyfriend partner came up to you and said, "Beth, I want you to marry me," what would you say?
yeah, I would. Yeah.
There you go. Right.
I'm not. I'm not even divorced yet,
Oh, you're not
technically.
divorced yet. Um,
So yeah, that
so
would be
if you know best partner, if you know best partner out there, she said she will marry you. So when she gets divorced, then you'll be all right. Sorry, I mean, look, you go red there.
Still a black.
Yeah,
You come into the
no,
wedding,
but
Steve, with a nice hat.
yeah, don't forget. Yeah, I'll come. Yeah, I'll come along with a great big one of those boulder hat things. No, but let's be serious. We can all laugh about relationships and everything else like that, and we
Yeah,
can get out from the relationship. And you're right what you're saying. But the trouble is, at the end of the day, is like, I remember being married for what, I don't know. I got married. I mean, one of my marriages and stuff. I got married, and I think I was married for around about 6 weeks, and she returned back to mum. It was because she's always been a mum's. She was always a mummy's person and
hmm,
things like that, and she was pregnant and things like that. And the trouble is that relationship was toxic, not because of my partner, of her parents.
right,
And
yeah,
sometimes, parents can come in and kind of
Yeah.
Kind of disturb it, can they sometimes?
Oh God, yeah. Families. Oh my lordy. All sorts of stuff going on in families. Absolutely.
So you must have gone through some family thing, then, have you?
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to do with my parents because they were abusers. So, it's been necessary for me to. I see them at family weddings and things, and I can converse politely with them and ask them how they are and stuff. But I don't. They don't. They've not earned a place in my life. They don't deserve a place in my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, so if so, when you kind of like see, I think since I kind of like known you and met you, well, hard year, I think you've really kind of like blossomed because I was looking at a photograph of you the other day, right? To put one of my posters, and it was a poster like this, miserable one, and I thought that is not Beth. That is not Beth. And look at you now, since like I've known you for a few months now, you're like I can tell, you're blossoming, you have improved, I don't know, it's something about you that, I don't know. I think it's your new partner also kind of like making you like that.
I am in love, absolutely. And it's funny because the picture that you do use of me with the window behind me with the smile. So he actually took that picture. So, so
Tell him,
I'm smiling at him in that picture. Yeah.
tell him that picture is not, it's
No,
not good.
the nice smiley one that you do use on the adverts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do, but it was one of them which were, what's wrong with her?
Oh, I know. Sometimes I look like a bulldog chewing a wasp. People come up to me in the street and go, "You all right, love?" And I'm like totally normal, but I've got what's called resting bitch face. Have you heard of that?
Rested what?
Resting bitch face, it's called. It's a thing
Go
where
on, get on, you
people
get on.
people look really, honestly, it's a thing where people look really, really bad tempered, when their
Okay,
faces are.
look, yeah, okay. Let's get away from the thing. I've been on that one the other day with my ex partner. Right, okay. We've got some questions coming in. Oh, we've got questions
Oh,
today.
good,
Right,
lovely.
Amanda wants to know. I, Steve, and Beth. I love it when you two come on. Um, what what pair? It's like Batman and Robin. Hey, watch what you're saying.
I'm Batman. I'm
Yeah,
Batman.
yeah. Yeah. I've got a T-shirt for it as well.
Woo, love it.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, Batman and Robin. Beth, I'm in a relationship with somebody, and I've been in a relationship for a long time. I've been told to kind of like do this, do that. Had enough of it. I tried walking out, but I don't want to walk out because of the children.
Because of the children.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And that absolutely, I've got kids myself, and of course, you think, oh, maybe I should try one more time to make it work. Maybe it's going to traumatize the kids. Okay, so the hard truth is, your kids will already know what's going on. They're like little sponges. That's their job, to be little sponges, and they'll already be picking up the tension that's there. So you have a choice, which is to do what most people do, and people have done throughout the ages, where you smile and grit your teeth, but the kids know the truth anyway, or you both own it, you and your partner, or at least you, and say, do you know what, this isn't working, and now I'm going to show you a role model of a strong woman who loves herself and isn't going to accept second best. And I'm going to reach out and find some help. I'm not sure how it's going to happen yet. I haven't got the answers, but you kids and me, we deserve better than this.
yeah. Thank you.
Because it's okay for kids to go through some sort of trauma that it is where something's being dealt with healthily. It's
Yeah,
much more healthy to go, do you know what, this isn't working, guys. Don't take this as a model of a healthy relationship. It isn't, and so we're leaving it. It's better to do that than to pretend it's all fine, and then your kids grow into adults and they can't make relationships because they've seen the model of the relationship, but they knew it was unhappy and stressful, and so there's a disconnect, and they'll struggle themselves. At least if you keep it real, parents always feel they've got to be perfect, but you don't have to be perfect. All you have to do is be honest and authentic. When you don't know the answers, say so, but say, but I'm going to get the answers, and you'll see what a strong mum looks like.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well done. Claire wants to know, hi, Steve, who is the boss in your relationship? I've got to be careful what I'm saying because my wife is just sitting over on the settee. But I'll give you a sign, okay? No, in my dreams, my wife said. So no, my wife, yeah. Um, I Beth, thank you for that. Very interesting chat today. That was really interesting. Um, can I ask how many children do you have, and did the children, did the children see what was happening in your relationship?
Well, so the toxic relationship that I had was quite a while ago. It was
Mm,
about 20 odd years ago. So it was before my children were born. Um, but I am getting divorced in this relationship, and the children were aware of what was happening. The issue there was my partner wasn't really abusive, but he just had anxiety, and he wasn't able to take the action he needed to manage it in a healthy way. So yeah, so I did it. What I just said in answering the other question, I basically just said the same thing. Is that I was just honest and said, your dad and I have tried for about 5 or 6 years to make things work. You can feel that there's a vibe, and they were like, yeah, and they were actually quite relieved when we said that we'll always be friends, but we can't sort of make this work together, so we're going to make it work in different houses from now on, kind of thing. And that's what we've done, and they've seen that play out. It's taken 18 months, but they've seen it play out, so they're kind of like, okay, well, it's not ideal, but it's fine. We still get to see dad. Dad's happier, mum's happier, life is calmer for them. So yeah, life isn't ideal, but it was authentic. We did what we did, and it's all fairly amicable and everything. So yeah.
Linda wants to know, oh, Beth, aren't you so beautiful? Your 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 boyfriend is a very lucky man. I reckon he should come on here and Steve will interview him and say to him that he's got to marry you and all this sort. That would be so funny.
Oh, bless it. I would never. He's quite shy, so I would never do that to him. But
No.
he is lucky, but so am I, because he's absolutely lovely. You've seen pictures of my partner, Steve, haven't you, on my
Yeah,
Facebook?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's lovely. He's absolutely
yeah.
gorgeous, fab.
Good. And
Um,
I'm
just think.
really, really happy for you. You deserve everything what you got.
Oh, thank you, and I wish you the same.
Yeah. Um, I, Steve, would it be possible if you could do a topic on marriage sometime? Oh gosh. I'll ask Beth later on because she's going through problems at the
So
moment with
that could be fun. We can work that one out.
yeah,
Let's yeah.
we'll sort something out, all right? I'm having problems in my marriage at the moment. Like we're always bickering and arguing and everything. We're always under the same fate. Yes, I know that idea, but the trouble is when you things well look at the end of the day, marriage is not kind of like all love and kind of like happiness. You do get your kind of like your arguments and your downfalls, but you know the better thing is you're making it up at the end of the night and kind of like everything's okay. We don't go to bed without an argument. It's we always kind of like talk it through before we go to bed.
That's exactly it. It's all about communication. And sorry, what was this chap's name? Did you say?
Yeah, Ray is
Ray.
called.
Hi, Ray. Yeah, if you and your wife are bickering, I know that can be so tough. Just a book suggestion, if it might be helpful, there's a great book called Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnston. You can get it off Amazon. I'm not sure how much it is, £6 or £8, but it's a cheap place to start, and it's all about how couples can learn quite easily through 7 specific conversations to communicate much better. And when you sort of like this, and you're going up, and then she ups it and you up it, and or that constant atmosphere where everybody's on edge all the time. Oh, so you've gone and done that, have you? And the same issues flare up again and again. All of those sorts of things. There's some really good tools and techniques in that book, so definitely recommend that. So it's called Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnston. So
brilliant, thank you for that. Last question, guys, because I've got to go because I've got to have my tea.
Me too.
Yeah, I've got another 4 to do yet, 4 interviews to do yet.
Wow, you're so popular now. Amazing.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. David. Oh, okay. Hi, Steve. I love it. I love your program, and I love Beth when she comes on. Could you ask Beth for me? If I'm in a relationship and my partner works a lot. She works on cruises, and she's away quite a bit. I'm going to be honest with you, but I have just fallen for this woman, and I've just fallen for this woman, and I didn't mean to. I'm in a pickle where I love my wife, but I want to tell this person that I met to go away. I'm not interested. But the trouble is, my heart tells me that that I'm in the relationship with her. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd say, right, be really honest with yourself. Nobody else is going to know, right? Just look at yourself in the mirror and have a chat with yourself. Is it actually your heart, or is it another part of your anatomy that this is really about? Okay. Because nobody else will have to know, but to have a really frank, honest conversation with yourself, and there doesn't need to be any judgment of you. You don't need to use terms like right or wrong or bad or good. Just be honest about how you're feeling, okay? And how did it get to this point? Imagine that you were a third person, and you were watching maybe a movie of this guy, and he means well, and he's basically a good guy, and he's happy, and he loves his wife, but maybe he misses her a lot. And this, tell that story to yourself. Try and make sense of what's actually happening here. Step back and make sense of it, right? And then the thing is in life is that you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs, right? And in a situation like this, somebody is going to feel some pain somewhere. Okay, now. Emotional pain is largely survivable. If feelings in themselves can't actually kill you, it's what we make those feelings mean that can kill us, that can drive us to suicide, for instance, right? So, accept that you've got into a situation where there may well be some pain involved, right? And choose to deal with it as your best self, right? So kind of go, if this was happening to me, if I was away working on cruise ships, and my partner was in this situation, how would I want her to handle it? What would I want her to do about it? How would she let me know if she decided to be with this other person? What's the best way she could do it that would soften the blow and would treat me the most decently, the most morally, with the most integrity, right? And try and do that. There may not be a way out of this situation where everybody's smiling, okay? But, if you can walk away and go, well, that was a bloody mess, but I acted decently. I messed it up, but I acted decently and in good faith. I did the decent thing there, and I live to fight another day, kind of thing.
I think the trouble is, so us men, what happens
You men. Oh.
Well, it's just men. The trouble is with men is they think with other parts of their body, and what they. What are you laughing for? It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
They pick with other parts of their body and not really kind of like thinking about, what is kind of like best to do, really.
Yeah. And let's not judge men about that particularly, because there are really good evolutionary reasons why men think about sex a lot. If men didn't think about sex a lot, where would humanity, where would the continuation of the species be to some degree, right? And I'm not giving credit to men for the whole of humanity or anything, but I'm just saying there's a reason why there's a strong drive in men, okay? And there's only a limited amount men can do about that, just as there's only a limited amount women can do about PMT. right? But it's about owning that, understanding that even though we now live in a 21st century where we're all expected to be monogamous when we're in marriage and all that sort of thing, these drives still exist. You know, I still get a bit irritable, you know, at certain times of the month, but it's owning that, you know, but then deciding how to behave, you know, how to deal with that, because there are lots of ways to deal with those sorts of things. Sometimes, you know, I just have to leave a room if I'm going to get a bit shouty or something. Yeah, but I know it, I own it. I'm imperfect. My hormones are strong. Everybody's hormones are strong, but you are still responsible for how you manage that.
Well
So
done.
yeah.
Well done. Well done. And the trouble is, when my partner is like that, I don't leave the room. I leave the house. I'm only joking, guys. Okay, thank you, Beth. Once again, don't forget, guys, we got 4 more guests tonight. Really good. So stick with that. But don't forget, we don't finish until around about 11. No, 11:30 tonight, because we got the fabulous Nido on all the way from Spain. Really, really good. So make sure you watch that. But in the meantime, Beth, thank you, and we will talk to your partner and say that if you want to, he wants, if you're listening, she wants to marry you, but you've got to wait for the divorce. But in the meantime, bye bye, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Yes.